If you follow my channel, you might have noticed that I never talk about QAnon, and there are several reasons for this, but I think now is a good time to begin discussing some of those reasons. If you don't know who QAnon is, it's pretty easy to find out. There are tons of videos and entire channels dedicated to Q, thousands of dollars in merchandise being sold, lots of people who have in many ways become Q evangelists or missionaries. I'm not going to get into the specifics because I think a lot of you already know. The basic idea for those of you who don't is Q is a person, or possibly people, who post cryptic messages anonymously online and claim to be a high-level insider that is releasing information to the public. But at the end of the day, Q is painting a picture of the past and a worldview of the present. A worldview where the deep state, or the establishment, is made up of criminals, even satanic individuals that have been getting away with unspeakable crimes in America and abroad for decades. And in this way, I would actually agree that Q is describing the world as it is. A world that after eons of elevating the most brutal among us, in a system that allows wealth to be transferred from one generation to the next, so it inevitably concentrates in certain families and creates advantaged upper classes and powerful families, we are slaves that work for an elite class that discovered long ago that the slaves won't revolt if you keep them fat, stupid, and in debt. If you give them the illusion of choice with elections where both candidates are bought and paid for by these wealthy families, if you control and mutilate the culture through the media and academia run by these same families, if you control the monetary system and keep everyone working on the plantation by keeping them in perpetual debt to these families who only had money to lend because they were born with that money, that really, the formula for controlling people is very simple under these circumstances. We see it all around the world. The tragedy is, people can always spot the tyranny and deception in other countries, but they never want to believe it's happening to them. They want to think that their country is the exception, that the people of North Korea, for example, all believe that their ruler is literally a divine god, and that the more mainstream Chinese, even they have a heavily censored internet and limited freedoms controlled by a de facto dictator. But Americans, we're way too smart for that. And it's because of that naive belief that Americans have lost control of their government to these criminals, these families, and live in a world of lies. This is the worldview of Q. And quite frankly, it's the bitter truth that everyone who bothers to explore the world beyond their television screens is bound to discover. Q puts a lot of focus on accepting these things and altering your worldview so that you can see behind the curtain. And this is what Q is called the Great Awakening. Essentially a process where Americans collectively have to take the red pill and wake up and face these cold hard truths. And this is something, by the way, I agree with. But that's not why I haven't talked about Q. I haven't talked about Q because of the second part to Q's story. The part of the story where Q, after with at least, some accuracy describing the situation that we're in, presents the idea that everything's about to change. That, for lack of a better term, the good guys within the system who saw the rot, who saw the evil, saw these vampires sucking the country dry. That these good guy elements joined forces with Donald Trump and executed a plan where he got elected so that they could take back control of the country and finally exact justice on these psychopathic despots that have for decades operated outside of a legal system that is designed to protect them. That there would be no deals, and that everyone from Obama to the Awan brothers would be rotting in prison, specifically Guantanamo Bay, for the rest of their days. That the swamp would be drained, the corruption would be amputated from the country, and the republic would be restored. That we should trust Jeff Sessions, because he's working behind the scenes with people like Director Ray to accomplish all this. And that all we have to do is spread the word and prepare all the normies for the utter shitstorm that will take place when they finally start arresting people. Now, this version of reality is very appealing. It's a version of reality that brings justice to an unjust world. It's a version of reality that finally justifies the physical, social, and even economical costs that everyone in this country that has been fighting tyranny and for truth, or even just voted for Donald Trump, has faced. Costs that I'm intimately familiar with, as I'm sure many of you are. It's a fulfillment of the fantasies of everyone who ever chanted "lock her up" at a Trump rally. Something else I'm intimately familiar with, as are many of you. The problem isn't that I don't want this to be true. The problem is the damage that will occur if it proves not to be. Many of you know how hard it is to wake people up. I have dedicated the last few years of my life to red pilling people, and it is the hardest thing I've ever tried to do. It's not easy to break the conditioning for a variety of reasons, and we don't need to get into all of them, but most of us would be lying if we said we don't sometimes look back fondly on the days before we took the red pill, or the black pill, especially the black pill. Ignorance is bliss. The knowledge of how bad things really are is a burden, and it's a burden that most people would rather not have. That's the weird glitch in human nature that makes us so easy to exploit, easy to control. Because at the end of the day, it's just easier to be told what to think and what to do. And that's what most people, that's the default setting. So my concern is with this Q phenomenon is that should it ever be proven absolutely that it's a hoax, especially if it's in like an embarrassing way, and there's already some cracks in the wall, okay? People will then throw the baby out with the bathwater. They will reject everything they learned as a result of following Q. They will feel used. They'll feel stupid. People hate feeling stupid. In fact, that's why so many people are attracted to Q in the first place. Q makes them feel smart, makes them feel like they're privy to some secret knowledge that nobody else has. You know, of course, the irony is that Q isn't a secret and that everyone, including the deep state, has internet access, so, the other thing that concerns me about Q is how Q is basically telling you, don't trust this group of elites, but you should completely trust this other group of elites. That you shouldn't make any plans or even have discussions on what to do, even if just the secret group of good guys fail. That it's just some foregone conclusion that this massive plan is just going to work, that everything's going to be okay, so just sit back and do nothing. So not only that, Q has said more than once, even if everything all works out, like let's just say this plan magically gets pulled off and, everyone gets locked up and you didn't have to do anything. Q says the full truth will never be released to the public. That somehow the slaves are too stupid to handle the truth. Which, by the way, is another dog whistle that if you follow Q, you're not stupid. You're special. You have been selected for this knowledge, but not the average person. They can't handle it. So presuming Q is real, and this is a real plan, that the truth is not to be revealed, then the plan is to protect guilty parties and their families, while at the same time damn our society to a repeat of the exact same problem. All because we're just too stupid to deserve the truth. That we're all just a bunch of fucking snowflakes, and our society will just crumble if we find out about the dirty details of what the elites have been up to. Now, I don't want you guys to comment below about why you think Q is true and all the proofs and whatnot. The fact of the matter is, if any of the so-called proofs that Q has provided conclusively proved Q's identity as an insider, there would be no reason to stay anonymous. What would be the point? I want you to think about what I just said. If there is any conclusive proof of Q's identity on the internet right now that would meet the standard of proof in a court of law, what would be the point of staying anonymous? And I don't mean like, well, he pointed at some guy wearing a Q shirt at a rally. That's weak at best. So just to reiterate, I want the version of reality that Q is putting forth, that we're all not just screwed, that it's not just a continuation of more of the same, that this brutal battle to get Trump in the White House wasn't all just so that we could have George Bush 2.0, or I guess 3.0. I want that more than anything. I want to know that justice is finally going to be served. I honestly want that more than anything, which is exactly why you need to think about the consequences if this is false. It's important that we think about the consequences of how this could go bad. I know this isn't what people want to hear, but I don't make videos because it's what you want to hear. There's lots of people on YouTube making videos telling you what you want to hear. There's been a 0% success rate in overthrowing the deep state in the last 50 years. But because some anonymous voice on the internet tells you it's happening this time, you're just gonna believe it? I get why you want to believe it. putting all of your eggs in one basket is insane. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are doing exactly that. For BlackPilled, I'm Devin Stack. If you like my content, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you click the little notification bell, and that will at least increase the chance that YouTube will tell you that I posted a video. And of course, you can donate at patreon.com/BlackPilled or at the crypto addresses below.